In terms of individual engagement, there are about 4. The one that requires a little bit of discussion and raising hand, right, would just be 1. And it's once you see this slide called exercise, that's the one that requires them to give their inputs directly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And you can check the student feeling by using the emoji. They know how to share the emoji to the audience and the speakers. Hi, Han-Siang.
Hello, hi everyone.
Okay, Han-Siang, would you like
Yeah.
to, Dr. Pung is here. Would you like to inform him anything about the preparation?
Yes, sorry, just now I wasn't connected to the audio, so not sure if we have mentioned this, but if we were to overrun, it's okay. So I think the secretariat will send the attendance link before 3 p.m. And if the discussion is very rich, and if Dr. To has the time, we can just continue maybe for an appropriate amount of time. And then we already communicated to that, so we will just type in the chat also saying that for schools who needs to leave, you may leave, and they can view the recording later. Yeah, because that's what happened yesterday also lah. Yeah, but of course we try our best to keep to the time lah. But I do suspect the enthusiasm from the students will keep going. So we just have a cutoff time by ourselves. Yeah, maybe 3:15 or 3:20, up to your availability lah.
Okay.
Okay.
I think the max our goal is 3:15.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. But for Piapa, we will send the link at maybe 2:55. Yeah, so they can do the attendance offhand. Yeah, because I understand some schools have things to rush off to at 3.
Yeah, sure. We share to every channel, but it's still asking where's the link. Share to their email, share to their WhatsApp, share to the chat box. All right. Okay. So now the 189 are logged into the system. So we're just waiting for the time to open them to be in the meeting room. So anything else? And for Han-Siang, for your information, for this time to facilitate the question with the students, our MC will help facilitate by calling by country, like Indonesia, if you want to share something. So this is like to maximize the country distribution.
Yes, correct. Because I think previously, some countries have been saying they didn't get the chance. I think Myanmar has been getting a lot of chances. Myanmar and Philippines. So maybe we can spread out to other countries also.
Yes, I think that in so far, right, Malaysia very hard to share, and also Indonesia. But anyway, we see for this session how we're gonna manage it. Is it better?
Yeah.
I believe that this is better arrangement for the quick Q&A.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to interject the students if we need to. If he or she is going for too long, we can just politely go in and summarize it for them also. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And for Dr. To, so we have 5 exercises in total. Am I correct? I think there's like you mentioned 4 plus 1 exercise.
For individual exercise.
Okay.
And 1 main exercise for sharing the idea.
Yes, correct. 4 individual exercise, rather 5 individual exercise. Sorry, 5 questions that they will do on their own on their end, and then one of them will be more discussion based.
Oh, like open the floor to everyone, kind of.
I will give them about 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how much time I have, to think through, and then I will ask them. Basically, I'll show you the slide.
Sure thing. Yeah, I'm trying to maybe just divide the countries. The 4 individual one, I'll just do. Let's see.
The individual one does not require you to do anything.
Oh.
Yeah. The individual one is basically like an open poll system. So basically, they will just go in and enter their responses. The only part that I need your help is when it comes to this particular slide. What I will do is that I'll just ask them to read up on this particular case study, and then each country, maybe, or for each pillar. So like P, what are things that you've highlighted? Then you just help me choose 1 or 2.
I got it now.
So they're basically 1 or 2 responses for each of these alphabets.
Sure thing.
Yeah. And the rest of them will look like this. Basically, is like a word cloud. So when they put in their responses on their computer, you just appear here. So they don't need to speak at all.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. This is a new way. All right. Okay, so now we have 220 participants logged in. We will allow them to get into the meeting room. Are you ready, Dr. Cho? So you are ready, right? Okay, so
we will allow now. Please wait.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello.
hi, good afternoon.
Hello, locking in. Hi.
Hello.
Okay, don't forget to rename yourself, okay? Country underscore your school name and then your name. But if you're logged in as a group, then country underscore school name. Hello, hi. Hello, I'm seeing a lot of emoji right now. Okay. Are you excited for today? If yes, give me a thumbs up. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of thumbs up right now. So, okay, 236 lock-ins going up. Wow. Okay. I can see the enthusiastic in these lock-in. Okay. Okay, don't forget to rename yourself, okay? Country underscore your abbreviation of school name and then your name. Okay, so it will be easier for us if we are going to do a Q&A, and I know that you're very eager to ask questions. I could see from the past 2 days. Okay, so technical reminders, the same as before, but there's one more point, number 5 that I have just added. To remind everyone that if you need to leave on time, because the session will end 3 p.m. In GMT plus 8 time. So if you have to leave on time, then you can go. It's okay. The recording and the feedback form will be sent to you afterwards. So no worry. Just in case the session is overrun like yesterday. So if you have to leave, you may go. Don't worry about the feedback forms and the recording. Okay, you won't miss anything. We'll make sure that you catch up. So we're gonna start now. Okay, we'll start with senior colors. Hi, greetings everyone. Hello from Bangkok, Thailand, and this is Pichaya from CMS, and welcome you all to the third day of the SSSC workshop, okay? So what is the weather like in your area? Because currently it's 35 degrees Celsius out in Bangkok right now, so it's pretty hot and humid today. So I'm just wondering, is it the same there? Is it also hot and humid in your area? If so, can you just please send me the fire emoji, please? Okay. Wow. Oh, wow. Okay. I think the 10 countries are all in the same weather, right? We're having the same weather. Quite hot, right? I know. Yeah. So speaking of weather, have you ever noticed that it's getting hotter than before? Well, it has been reported that the average global temperature has been gradually going up. So what do you think caused this? So today we are going to discuss about the effects of climate change and also the case of Singapore coastal protection, okay? We're gonna have the ACTShop activity as always, and if time is available, we'll have some Q&A at the end. Okay, so today we have with us our speaker, Dr. To Tai Chong, the senior lecturer from the National University of Singapore, and we'll be talking about Singapore coastal protection and the effect of climate change. Dr. To, the floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. Well, there's a lot of excitement going on. Hi. Okay, so let me just quickly share my slides and I'll run through with you quite an interesting part of today's discussion, okay, on climate change. Okay, you should be able to see my slides, right? Okay, so I just would like you to, so most of you are on the computers and some of you might have access to mobile phones. Can I just, before we start, task you to do something, okay? Using your browser, right, can you go to polev.com/ttc, right? So if you look at the bottom, that's the web address, right? So polev.com/ttc. I'll give you about a couple of minutes to do that because throughout the entire presentation today, you will get a chance to participate, right? And we'll use this particular platform to do it, okay? So it might be new to some of you, but don't worry, yeah, it's actually quite fun to use. Okay, so polev.com/ttc. Your name is really optional, whether you want to put in a name, right? So if you want to, you can put in something nice and friendly. Okay. Yeah, in the chat, there is also a link there. So if it's easier for you, you can just click the link and it will lead you straight to the platform. Okay, if you're there, can you give me some indication? You can put a smiley face, you can put a thumbs up, you can put... Yes, okay, very good. Right, so we're going to start soon, okay? So the very first exercise we're going to do today is to see where are you located, okay? So right, so on your screen right now, if you are looking at the PoleEV website, so where are you now? Are you able to identify yourself? Right, where are you right now? Wow, there's there are people who are quite far away in North America. Where are you right now? Okay, yes, most of us in Southeast Asia. Somebody is in the middle of the ocean. All right, excellent. Okay, that's where we are now. Wow, very fast. Okay, so we have 200 over responses. You're very quick. Okay, so today we will use this particular platform to do our discussion. Okay, so keep this website open. Okay. Wow, 300 of you. Okay, there's a lot in the ocean now. Okay, so with that, we're going to start off today's session. Prior to this, we have given you a number of different interesting resources, right? So I hope you have time to actually read them beforehand. But I just want to start off with this particular video over here. Okay, so if you have your volume up, this music will be a very important one to listen to. Okay, it really is very emotional. I just want to highlight this particular example. So in 2018, right, a polar bear became the face of climate change. And it's really because a group of photographers and videographers were in the Arctic, right? And they saw this particular polar bear moving around. And as we probably would know, seen from the videos, TV, even from zoos, right, polar bears tend to be very fluffy, big size, and then they're quite cute and cuddly. But this one was very unusual. It was really scrawny, as you can see from the picture here, right? And it's moving very slowly. I just want to let you see this video first before I highlight to you why this particular polar bear was the face of climate change back in 2018. Okay. So this particular polar bear was spotted moving around, scavenging for food, right? And he went on to all the bins to look for food to basically consume, rubbish to basically find, okay, whatever his hands can get on. And a lot of this led to the realization that the polar ice caps in the North and South Pole, they are melting faster than expected. And this poses a problem for polar bears, right? Because for most of the time, they actually spend on polar ice caps, and they will be on the ice itself, looking for seals, right? And then they use them as a hunting ground. But when the ice caps melt, it actually forces them to go inland to look for food, right? And this particular polar bear was seen exactly there. So in this particular, so the central to this conversation that we're going to have today is really understanding what climate change is, right? And the kind of impacts it has on everybody, including you and I. Right. So the next thing that is I would like to ask here today is basically, right, so when it comes to the term, what is climate change? What comes to your mind when it comes to the term climate change? So use poll EV, okay? And then you can just put in your answers and you start seeing them appearing here, okay?
Mr. Joe, you can stop sharing and then share.
Oh, you can stop sharing. Oh, okay. Now the sound is gone. And then maybe try to share again.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Right.
Perfect.
Okay, so your responses are coming in, right? So what you see here, a few important things that you are very right about. So there's a temperature, global warming, hot gases, air, pollution, right? There's a lot of different things coming up. Danger, glaciers, faunas. Well done, everybody, right? So today we're going to talk about climate change, and we're going to highlight this particular term called called global warming, okay? So we're trying to disentangle the different terms that we have, right? And let's see what it's all about. So in one of the videos I have sent to you, okay, I have introduced the concept of climate change. And what is important in this particular video, you have seen it, right? Okay, is that it presents a number of things that you have correctly pointed out. Okay, so climate change caused by various issues such as pollution, right? As you can see from the background here. I'll show you a short clip, right? In case you haven't seen this particular video, so that everybody is on the same page. We have a common understanding of what causes climate change, okay?
Human activities, from pollution to overpopulation, are driving up the Earth's temperature and fundamentally changing the world around us. The main cause is a phenomenon known as the greenhouse effect. Gases in the atmosphere, such as water vapor, carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and chlorofluorocarbons, let the sun's light in, but keep some of the heat from escaping, like the glass walls of a greenhouse. The more greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, the more heat gets trapped, strengthening the greenhouse effect and increasing the Earth's temperature. Human activities, like the burning of fossil fuels, have increased the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere by more than a third since the Industrial Revolution. The rapid increase in greenhouse gases in the atmosphere has warmed the planet at an alarming rate. While Earth's climate has fluctuated in the past, atmospheric carbon dioxide hasn't reached today's levels in hundreds of thousands of years. Climate change has consequences for our oceans, our weather, our food sources, and our health. Ice sheets, such as Greenland and Antarctica, are melting. The extra water that was once held in glaciers causes sea levels to rise and spills out of the oceans, flooding coastal regions. Warmer temperatures also make weather more extreme. This means not only more intense major storms, floods, and heavy snowfall, but also longer and more frequent droughts. These changes in weather pose challenges. Growing crops becomes more difficult. The areas where plants and animals can live shift, and water supplies are diminished. In addition to creating new agricultural challenges, climate change can directly affect people's physical health. In urban areas, the warmer atmosphere creates an environment that traps and increases the amount of smog. This is because smog contains ozone particles, which increase rapidly at higher temperatures. Exposure to higher levels of smog can cause health problems such as asthma, heart disease, and lung cancer. While the rapid rate of climate change is caused by humans, humans are also the ones who...
So basically, I hope you get a better understanding of what climate change is, but I also want to point out one important thing about this particular video, okay? So you see in the next slide, okay, this is the caption, okay? So basically, as you see from the caption, there is this particular word called climate change, and then they go on to say that also known as global warming. So it seems to suggest, right, climate change and global warming, they are one and the same. So the key thing here is for us to understand today, right, whether climate change is actually just global warming. Okay, so let's take a look at these two terms, okay, separately, okay? The first term that, okay, I think most of you are very familiar with is global warming, right? So that's the long-term trend of the global temperature. So as you can see from 1800s all the way to 2000, it's a very clear-cut trend, right? So the lines are all increasing, right? And this is on a global level, right? So basically globally, if you average out all the temperatures across all the countries, this is what you will see across time. So this is something that is most of us are able to relate to. I think what is also important to highlight here is that in Singapore itself, we have experienced this in more recent years too. Okay, so this was an article from 2015, and it says Singapore's warmest year on record. Okay. So hold on, I think there's a buzzing sound. Let me stop and reshare again. Okay, so, and then later on in 2016, the same article came out, but with a different year. And then it went on to basically talk about 2017, and then 2018 was a very similar trend. So in Singapore itself, for those who have been here, you might have realized that Singapore's temperature has been really, really hot these days, like very much in your cities, right? So like for Indonesia, Philippines, these are areas that has been experiencing very high temperatures too. So Singapore is not alone in this, right? So what you do see here, this is an impact of global warming. Okay, but what is important is to understand this term called climate change, right? So let's take a look at this. Okay, so climate change is a little bit more complex than that. It's not global warming. Okay, it is basically a huge complex processes that consists of different things. Rainfall, right? So this particular picture here that you see is rainfall. Okay, let me just highlight to you some important things that is predicted to happen. Okay, so if you're talking about rainfall, what you generally see here is that traditionally, if you look at the black lines, okay, the black lines in the 1960s, the hotter months for those in Southeast Asia, right? For example, our hottest month is usually May to July, right? So you can see the rainfall, which is also corresponds to rainfall as well. Okay, and then you get another peak somewhere in October, November, later half of the year, right? And then that's the period where we have a lot of rain. But the thing here is that global climate change, right, has changed the pattern, right, quite a bit, in a sense that it changes the period of wet weather. So if you look at two things, okay, these two green arrows that you see here, so instead of having the highest rainfall in May, June, July, it is predicted that with increased intensity of rainfall, the patterns will change. So it means March, April, and May. And the second peak also coming earlier, somewhere between September, October, and November. Okay, this is one thing. So it changes the pattern. So what is traditionally very wet, right? In the months that are really, really wet, it will change, come earlier or later, depending on the climate itself. And the second thing here is also see that the amount of rainfall is a lot higher. Okay, so if you look at the rightmost green arrow, for example, you see that the peak is really, really high, right, compared to what we have now. So there's a lot of rain. We expect a lot of rain. Okay, so basically this is only one part of climate change, the precipitation pattern. The second thing that is also very important here is that we also have extreme weather events. Okay, so it's not just the temperature, but it's the intensity of some of these big events. So the first example that I would like to point out, so Philippines, right, is an area that experiences a lot of typhoons every year, right? So I think on average about 18 to 20 per year. Okay, in 2013 there was this super typhoon, right? So the reason why it's called super typhoon here is this, okay, because the highest wind speed is about 230 kilometers per hour. Okay, so in November the wind speed went up to 230, right, and the maximum was 215. So basically what it means here is this: for most of us who have been, sitting in cars, moving around from city to city, on our highways, typically we travel about 80 to 100 kilometers per hour. This is easily 2 to 3 times that particular speed, and that's how fast it is. So in 2013, Typhoon Haiyan hit central Philippines, right, and within a span of 8 days, it caused a lot of damage, right? So we are looking at about 6,000 over people who lost their lives, right, and a damage of $4.5 billion, right? And it doesn't just affect Philippines alone, right? There are other associated areas as the typhoon moves up northwards. It affects southern China, Vietnam, and parts of other parts of Southeast Asia too. This is a picture taken by one of the news agencies during that period of time. Right, as you can see here, it's a very odd picture because you can see that the surrounding areas are obviously living areas, right, or houses, right? But you still see in the middle of the picture, there's a huge ship that's landed in the middle. So that is something that is very concerning because that tells us the strength of the typhoon during that period of time. And this is one of the problems with climate change. Okay. And a before and after picture, right? So on the left is what you see in that particular part of Philippines on the left, right? And then what you see on the right is a very drastic picture. Okay. What you can see here is that the green parts are mostly all gone, right? And then what is seen on the left, on the right is basically a patch of brown areas, and you can hardly see the roads and houses anymore. Okay. So 2013 Typhoon Haiyan was a very devastating disaster for the people of Philippines. So that is one. So climate change is often associated with very intense and frequent severe events. And the next thing here is that we also have sea level rise. Okay, so earlier in the video, you've seen how the sea level will rise because of the melting ice caps. So we are looking at a rise of about 34 centimeters, right? That is somewhere in 2050, which is about 20 over years from now, right? And there is a huge change. So the next question here is, so we're talking about sea level rise, right? What are some of the impacts of sea level rise that you can think of? Right, so you can put your answers in the word cloud. Huh? So put in your responses, your short responses. So what are some of the impacts of sea level rise? Yeah, sea floods. Okay, flooding, floods. Yes. And we kind of experienced it recently, right? Right. Let's see. Sinking cities. I think sinking cities. Okay. Right. That is very true. Later on, there will be a video to show you how the sinking city can actually look like. Destruction. Yes. Disappearance. Okay. Very good. Okay, fatality, yeah, it can. Because when it comes to flooding, when it comes to heavy rainfall, it can actually wash away houses, even people, or even cars. Okay, so flooding comes out really strongly. Very good. Right, thanks everybody. Okay, I also see this very important word, famine, hunger, right? Food. Okay, these are issues that we are also facing. Right, there's also this particular word called beaches, disappearing beaches, right? Basically areas getting flooded. Erosion comes out very strongly, very good. Coastal destruction, yes. Okay, so some of you have probably seen this in your own neighborhoods, right? For Singapore, I think we have also seen it before. And what I would like to highlight to you here is this. In Singapore, we're quite worried, largely because we are an island state. So we're very prone to see effects of sea level rise. Okay, so today we're going to focus on sea level rise. So, but I hope at this point you are able to understand the difference between global warming, which is more temperature focused, and climate change, which includes a whole series of different things such as rainfall, the intensity of your typhoons, storms, and also these associated impacts on sea level rise. Okay, very good. Thanks everybody. Okay. So sometimes you might be quite hard to imagine how it looks like. Okay. So I just want to highlight to you one simple image to give you a sense of how sea level rise might look, right, for at least coastal regions like Singapore. Okay. So in this particular video, what you see here is that the normal high tide is at 2 meters. And when rain falls, right, what you can see is that the water slowly rises about 3 meters, maybe 2.5, 3 meters. Okay, now let's see what happens when the sea level rises faster than usual. Okay, so what you see here is that at normal high tide, it reaches about 3 meters. And when there's heavy rainfall, it exceeds that. And what you see in the diagram here is basically how some parts of the buildings will be submerged. Okay. And basically, the things that you've been talking about, sea level rise, right? Your flooding of your coastal regions, your erosion, flooding, this will all happen to Singapore. And that's what we are very, very worried about. And this is something that we are trying to share with nations around the globe, especially if they have a lot of islands. Okay? So, to give you a more visual representation of how it looks like, for those who have visited Singapore, you're probably familiar with the Merlion, okay? So let's see what happens if the sea level rises faster than usual and what happens to the Merlion here, okay? So this is how Singapore could look like, right? And this got us very, very worried, and then we worry for our neighboring countries and friends too. And the thing here is that it's very hard to understand the real impacts without, having a case study. Okay, so in this particular example, I would like to show you what happened to a small little capital, way in the Pacific Ocean that is heavily impacted by sea level rise. Okay, so I would like to bring you to this place in the southern Pacific called the Kiribati, right? So Kiribati is a country itself. Its capital is this place called Tarawa, right? And it has only about 100,000 people. Okay, and yes, in the recent years, right, lost 2 islands already. Okay, and when we say lost islands, basically means that the islands have been submerged, so there's no way that they can get it back, right? So, and it's predicted that this small little place, right, could be inhabitable, meaning nobody. So this is where Kiribati is located. So it's basically northeast, right, of Australia in a small little island. What you see on the right is how it looks like, okay, on a normal day, right? As you can see, there are still houses, right, and then there are patches of mangrove. But when the waves come along, especially during tropical storms, right, the waves can be really great, right? And so much so that they actually started to think about whether there can be more high-tech solutions to protect islands. So what you see here on the right is what human man-made island or even a country can look like, right? So they are even thinking of ideas like this so that they can save their country. I would like to show you a quick video, right? The full video is available in the resource I provided. This is a short video to give you a sense of what happened to Kiribati in the recent years, okay?
Mon mea kada si mea kai tandak. Sering main di nano di timur di tay. Oman naus, ani apa kai tarik kan. Oman naus, apa kada bentar. Pakai ko jaga wayan. Kana kerja, agak jaga wayan. Jangan. Kadang-kadang kalau corona jangan kayak juga nak bolong.
Bayari itu katanya yang tepon entai dikin ngapungin sus ada toni pe tangi apa ketika kaya pusing tar nakon tayo kanaro ngasih ando.
For me as a Kiribati, the only thing that I want is to save Kiribati. Just about being alive and have a place to stay. No, it's about a country and a people called Kiribati people. We will continue to fight until there is no breath in us. These are the issues that Kiribati people are facing right now. First one is water. Long droughts and no water to drink, and places where the water is being contaminated by sea surge or rain, too much rain or flooding. So we implemented water tanks. We've also been helping with the coastal erosion. We've been planting mangroves and helping the people to understand why mangroves are important and why they shouldn't be taking sand from the seashores.
The community guy, narakawayo, kaya natabuan niya mayo. Yan ang kurong kayo, matoto na ibugin ka. Bukan totoo din natin, anak ang abitagin ng kanon pong. Totoo na kayo. Nakatabuan kayo, anakin, kita na medya may tandak.
And food security, we've been telling people, go back to your Kiribati traditional crops. Return to your land and grow food. If climate change is going to take away my sovereignty, as a country, as a people, then everyone that is part of Kiribati and part of these countries that are facing the problems today, we will continue to fight. We're going to speak, we will continue to advocate, we will continue to shout and scream until they say, yes, we can do something and we can come to a binding agreement.
So in this video, what you see here, right, is a very real situation of what's happening to Kiribati. Okay, and it's a huge warning sign for everybody in Southeast Asia because we have so much of our coastline, we have so many islands collectively, and this is something that's very worrying for us. So the next part, what we'll do here is that we'll do a simple exercise. Okay, so you'll get involved in this particular exercise. If you have seen this, read this particular article that I provided you, that's fantastic. If you have not, right, can I ask you to do this? Okay, so basically, right, if you can scan this QR code, if you have a phone, you can scan this QR code, or if you're on your laptop, right, it might be easier to just search for these two terms, climate change and Kutub Dia. Okay, and then you look out for this news article by The Guardian, which is an online news agency. Okay, so I'll leave this here, okay, for maybe about 2 minutes, and then I will continue. Okay, so this is the article, right, that you will need for later. Okay, so again, the instructions are, if you are using your phone, you can scan the QR code here. It should link you to the website directly. If not, right, you can actually search for the terms climate change and the term Kutub Dia, right, which is the place that we're going to look at. And this article will look like this. Okay, it's called the Climate Change Frontline, right, the disappearing fishing villages of Bangladesh. Okay, so let me just give a quick overview of what this article is about before we start on the exercise. Okay, right, so let's see. In this particular area called in this country called Bangladesh, it's on the western side, right, of very near India, right. And what we see here is that in this particular country, there is this island, right, that is called Kutub Dia. Okay, so it's basically not connected to the mainland, right, because it's separated by a huge water body in between. Okay, so what you see here is a picture taken from the website that shows how the area looks like. So I'll bring you to Bangladesh Kutub Dia now. So if you look at this picture, what is very obvious here is that there are like little cubes in the foreground, right? So little cubes, and then there's a boat in the middle, right? And then the kids, children running around. Okay, so what if I told you is that basically all these cubes used to be a huge 3-meter seawall, right? But this is what is left. Very strange, isn't it? So basically, instead of like very neatly piled up walls, what you see here is a pile of rubble and leftover cubes. Okay, so this is an important part because, right, the government is trying to protect the coast from sea level rise, but the waves and the currents are so strong that it toppled it within a couple of years. And what is very important to note here is that the people in Kutub Dia, they are actually mostly fishermen, right? And as fishermen, they basically depend on the sea for fishes, for their harvest, they depend on their livelihood. But in recent years, they've been telling people, well, the ocean is torturing us, okay, because water has been entering my house and then I have to keep shifting houses. Very similar to what you've seen in the video of Kiribati, right? There was this particular interviewee who said, I have to move house 3 times. Very similar in Kutub Dia, the very same thing that happened, especially if they're living very near the coast. So some of the things that they mentioned, right, in the article itself was this very strange phenomenon where it's hot when it's supposed to be winter, right? So remember the chart that we shared earlier, basically it's supposed to be wet season, right? It's supposed to be cold, but it's really hot, right? And what is also very problematic here is that they realize that the fishermen can no longer fish in the shallow areas, they have to go further and further out. And what this means is that a lot of these people actually go out to very far out offshore and they risk their lives. So true enough, right, just in 1 month, they lost about 89 fishermen. And the impact here is that it doesn't just affect the fishermen, it affects the children, right? It affects the family, right? And with the loss of somebody, right, it's a very, very devastating feeling. Okay. So for people in Kutub Dia, these are some of the major things that they are challenged. And this is how it looks like when they are in their own houses. Okay. But what they also noted here was that high tides never used to come inside, but they realized that for every single high tide season in the last 5 years, water has been seeping into their houses. So much so that yes, they are forcing people to live. Right? There are people who were once rich in the village, but now they are actually moving further and further inwards, and they have lost everything. So before that, they were really rich, right? They have a lot of resources, but now they are losing a lot of their own property. Okay, they're living in slums. Some of them are beggars, and then there is really nothing for them to depend on as they fled from one place to another. And the next picture is the most impactful picture that I've seen. Right, this is a picture of them trying to move to the mainland during low tide. So this is them trying to evacuate because they have no longer able to find enough resources over there. It's just too dangerous. The land is losing so rapidly. Basically, they lose all their fishing boats, right? And then it's just so dangerous that basically they started to leave, and they will migrate to the mainland of Bangladesh, right, through the ocean by wading through like this. So they carry their children, whatever property they then carry, they will all go. And this is something that's very important, right? And one warning is that it's very clear for us is that climate change, right? We need to do something about it. Okay, so the key thing here is what then do we do about it? So before I go into the solutions part, I would like to get you all to think about what are some of the impacts of climate change. Okay, so basically, here are some quick exercise. Okay, so let's see. Maybe we set aside 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Okay, so in the next 5 minutes, what I would like you to do here is this. You have the article on hand, right? You have I will introduce to you this simple framework for you to think about. Okay, so using this framework called PESTEL, right? PESTEL, right? So what I would like you to do here is this. Using Kutub Dia as an example, right? So how has sea level rise impacted Kutub Dia, right? So based on all these pillars, okay, the first one is P, policies and politics, right? So how does it affect? So how does sea level rise affect the local laws, policies? How does it affect the government? Okay. So second pillar is E, right? Economic. So basically, how does it affect the employment rates? How does it affect the amount of income that the people can have? 3, social. Basically, how does it affect the people, right? So basically, health, lifestyle, cultural. The next pillar is T, which is technology, right? Does it affect any technology? Is technology a solution here, right? And the fifth pillar is E, which is environmental, right? So how does it affect the environment? Okay. And the last one is law. If let's say there's anything that has to do with law, right? For example, how do you define what's legal and what's legal when it comes to a submerged island, right? So these are some of the issues. In the next 5 minutes, with the article on hand, what I would like you to do is that please try to think of one example in each, right, pillar. If you are in a group, you can work in a group. If you're alone, you can think of it alone. Later on, we will call for you to answer some of these quick questions, okay? So we would like you to share some of your examples under each of these pillar, okay? So we have 5 minutes, okay? So take your time to think of some examples over here. Yeah, so I leave you to think about the answers now.
Excuse me, Dr. Cho, the student asked to repeat the assignments.
Yes. Okay, so the question here is, how does sea level rise affect Kutub Dia? Okay, so using the article, right, can you identify some of the things that is affecting Kutub Dia, and then you try to match them to the pastel framework, right? So which is this, right? Let me give you an example, okay? So for example, in the article just now, we were talking about how it affects their livelihood because they are now switching from, they're now living in slums and they don't have a job. So this will be falling under this particular E, right? So called employment. So basically it causes them to lose jobs. Okay, so this is one example. So there are multiple examples. You can think of it, maybe one each from each of this pillar. Okay, so how did sea level rise affect the people in Kutub Dia? Okay. Okay, you have 1 minute left, okay? So think of your examples, right? Later on, we'll call upon some of you to share your answers, okay? Okay, so time's up. So how we will do this is this. We will go through each pillar, okay, and then I will ask the facilitator to help to give to point out some of these students to give your responses. So you don't need to raise your hands now, right? So the moment I say, okay, let's go to P, then we will start raising hands, okay? Right, so I hope you're ready. Right, so the first part is on policies and politics, okay? So if you have an example, 1 or 2 examples to share, please raise your hand.
Okay, Dr. To, I would like to explain a little bit about how we are going to do the Q&A here so that we will make sure that we get every student from every country evenly. So what we're going to do is that we have 6 characters here, right? P, S, T, L. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to call on countries. So 2 country per 1 alphabet. How do you think?
Yep, that's excellent.
Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna call by an alphabetical order, okay? So everybody can, answer. So when you are ready, so instead of raising hand interaction using emoji, I will ask you to type your type your school name, country, and school name in the chat box, okay? So for example, if I call on Brunei, and then you type your school name, okay? And then we'll call you to answer. Okay, 1 school for 1 country. When I call the country, you type in your school name, all right? Your school name and then your name, things like that, okay? So the first letter that we're gonna start with is letter P, politics and policy, okay? So I will call on Brunei, okay? 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, we got the first one. SMSB Brunei. Okay, SMSB Brunei, where are you? SMSB Brunei, you can unmute yourself. Okay, hi, hello. Okay, can you unmute yourself? Okay, we cannot hear you at the moment. Okay. Okay. Oh, or maybe SMSB Brunei, you can type in the chat box as well. It's okay, type in the chat box. Yeah. Hello. Hello.
Right. Okay, I see this. Right. So SMSB Brunei. Okay, no government policy to help the migrated people. Excellent, right? Because you realize that a lot of the policies are catered for different states, and the state policies in Kutub Dia, right? Once they move from places to places, the state policies might not apply to them, right? So it's a very difficult situation. Excellent, right?
Okay. So next, we're gonna call on Cambodia for the P, politic and policy. Okay, Cambodia. Okay, I got the first one. Cambodia NGSPL. Okay, NGSPL. You may now unmute yourself. NGSPL. Okay.
So for politics and policies,
Mm-hmm.
our idea is monarchy. since the effect from sea level rise and that could affect to their human needs and their life, their basic needs, their lifestyle. So I think that during that time there will be an anarchy.
Right, very good. Yeah, it changed in the way they are being governed and the structures will be different, right? The government policies will change. Excellent. Thanks so much.
Okay, next for letter E, economics. Indonesia, you can go. Okay, we got SMPN1 Magelang. SMPN1 Magelang. SMPN1 Magelang, are you here?
Hello.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay.
So for our economic sector, firstly, we have the economic growth. So in Ethiopia, their economy may falter because of in their facing agriculture because they are experiencing many drastic stuff now with the rising sea levels and many of the weather that is unstable for them, and they have recently faced many losses in their sea, and which is very sad to see. And also the second thing that can happen is with the unemployable rate. So in Ethiopia is reliant upon a fishing economy, it seems like. So they must, or they are very reliant upon a very strict economy, which is a fishing economy in the sea. And with that, they're being halted by the sea because of the sea is rising and they're losing their boats. Their boats are going to sea, and when they go to sea, they are dying. And so for that reason, they don't want to risk their lives to go to the sea and fish. So this may affect their employee rate as a fisher.
Excellent.
Thank you.
This is an excellent point. I think you are talking about two very important things here, right? So as a country level, when you have less land, right, the amount of things that you can build, the industries that you can have is very limited. And the second one is more of a household level, right? Because they are dependent on fishing, right? When you have lives lost, when you have very challenging sea conditions, it affects their own livelihood. So excellent point. Thank you.
Okay, next, can we get Lao for economics? KIS Lao. Okay, KIS Lao. You can unmute yourself. And please remember to make your answer brief, all right?
So hello, we're from KS, and so like for the economics, tourism, because like there's no tourism going to that country, and the country wouldn't have an income. And for the second one is unemployment rates, because the company would shut down because of the flood, and the workers don't have work, so they could be jobless and don't have money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent point. I just want to pick up one of the points that you mentioned as excellent, right? Because one of the consequences of sea level rise is that it makes it less attractive for other people to come into, so which is the tourism part that you're referring to. So very good. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much, Lao. So next, on social, can I call on Malaysia? Okay, SMSHS, Malaysia. SMSHS.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
All right. Hello from Malaysia. So, for social, the people from Bangladesh have a restricted population growth rate. Thanks to the limited land they have to control the population as to not overpopulate. Besides that, the villagers who feel unsafe thanks to rising sea levels prefer to move to the central area of their islands or higher ground. This restricts the land they have even more and restricts the population growth. Besides that, they also have an increased health consciousness. This causes them to be more aware and becomes increasingly more sensitive to rising sea levels and have a lot more restrictions, such as not allowing sand and gravel to be taken from the beaches. Yeah, that's all that I have.
Okay, excellent. So we're looking at concentration of people, right, on the island itself. So if everybody concentrates in the higher ground, then you basically get a very dense population in certain parts, right? And the second one is on the health issues, right? The multiple health issues when you have people crowding together, right? So that is something that's very important. Thanks so much.
Thank you. So next is Myanmar on the social topic.
Shares.
Hi, hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh,
Yeah.
Can we share? Can we share?
I'm gonna see who went first. Can I get the BES2?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss. Thank you.
Okay.
So, it's affected the technology as well, and yeah.
So for the people that live near coastline, and because of the rising sea level, it can, for social, for their society, it can damages their economic also, and it can cause them, permanent flooding for their areas. And to rescue those people who are damaged by the flood, there may be refugees, there may be rescue teams, and we can rescue those people who are affected by the flood. And we need, I think, participation from other countries and other locals as well.
Thank you. Yes, very important, the concept of refugees, right, and what is needed to support them. Okay, so maybe in the interest of time, can I request that we only have one example, right? Yeah, just maybe one example from each of these pillars.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so next, technology, Philippines.
Can we answer, please?
Can you answer?
The list is going up. Okay, cool. Yes, go ahead.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
For the technological, for the aspect of technology, since the sea level rise can affect the economic crisis or can produce crisis in the country, there would be a negative impact when it comes to the technological aspect, since the possibilities that the country cannot technologically advance, they have to focus more on prioritizing the people that are affected by the sea level rises.
To add up to what he said, we've looked through the website link and the article, and me and Joshua wanted to search for more information regarding this topic. So we utilized different source regarding this, and we found out that there was a new technology called a floating garden that has been developed to help farmers grow crops. Despite the increasing salinity of the soil, these floating gardens are made from bamboo frames which can grow vegetables and fruits, despite the adverse environmental conditions.
That is all for our
Excellent.
answer.
Excellent. Yeah, because when a country is struggling to meet the needs of the people, it's very hard for them to go for technological changes because the priorities will shift. Right. So excellent point right there. Thanks so much.
Okay, next for environmental issue, Singapore. NUSH, you may now speak. NUSH.
Hello.
Hello.
We are from Singapore. Especially in Singapore, coastal erosion has been a really predominant issue. So Singapore has tried a lot of things to tackle this, especially like in coast like East Coast Park. We have seen construction of groins and breakwaters, which try and reduce the effect of backwash waves. Yeah.
So we have more, right? Because like, tell us about
Yeah. Other countries also have tried implementation of soft engineering methods, such as restricting developments on the coast and implementation of corals and mangroves as well.
For
Excellent.
that specific example, I guess there will also be things like soil erosion and the greater flooding or the small wind energy. So the
Thank you.
There were more damage now.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so basically there's a lot of things that needs to be done to protect the coast, right? Because as we struggle and try to make climate change, to limit the impact of climate change, there has to be actions taken. So this is one thing that countries around the globe are trying to solve too. Excellent.
Okay, great. So the last one, law. Sorry to say this, but I'm gonna have to tie Thailand and Vietnam together. So Thailand and Vietnam, any country. Type your name. Okay, can I get Thailand TUPP? Thailand TUPP.
Hello?
Hi.
Hello?
Hi.
Okay. Is it law?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Is the topic law?
Yes, it's law.
Okay. Due to high rise of sea levels, the government will take care of the people that has been affected by the floods and high rising of sea levels.
Yep.
That's all I
know.
Excellent. So one of the things that needs to be done is to relook at how do we then have laws to protect people, right? So if you lose certain property, then what is the law that protects you as an individual who is living on the island? Excellent. Yay, very good.
Very good. Yes.
We move on to, so are we going to give you a chance to Vietnam?
Well, yes. Vietnam, would you like to make a go? UMS Supernova. UMS Supernova.
Okay, so hi everyone. Our team is Supernova from the UMS Middle School, and we would like to present the rising sea levels effects on social changes. So firstly, rising seas sweep away lands and livelihoods in the Katupia, and also water enters the houses during high tidal, especially in rainy seasons. So it devastates homes and damage the houses of the villagers. And therefore, villagers have to evacuate because of the rising sea levels. And so they lose their main sources of food as they fish for a living, and rising sea level causes difficulties in transportation.
Yeah, excellent.
Next, the fishermen no longer fish in the shallow waters around the island because of decreasing catches, which they believe is linked to the water warming. And now they travel to 10 to 15 hours to the deep sea. But this year they have seen an increase in signals, forcing them back to the land and cutting their earnings further. So families are broken for that reason. When people move to a large virtual culture, their unique cultures will be lost. Thank you.
Very good. Very good. I think this is a very good summary to a lot of the points that we have covered today, right? So if from issues with cultural issues, cultural losses, the loss of livelihoods, transportation, a whole slew of different challenges when it comes to sea level rise. Thank you so much, everybody, for this particular discussion. Okay, so I hope the PESTEL framework is helpful. It's something that you can use for your own work too. It helps you expand your scope on whenever you are analyzing issues that's very, very complex. Okay, so in the last portion, right, last few questions I have for you today, right, based on what your friends have shared across the globe, right, how do you think sea level rise will affect your country? Right, so if you are in Philippines, right, so how will it affect the islands of Philippines or even Indonesia, right? So put your responses in the poll EB, okay? So let's see what are some of these things that will affect your own country. Very good. I see salty water, which is very important, right? Because our freshwater sources, when it gets contaminated by salt water, it is very, very hard to treat, and the source of fresh water that we have is even lower than usual. Okay. I see also disturbances, right? Basically, our lives, our processes, policies that we have in place has to change to adapt. Okay. I also see destruction, right? Destruction comes out very strongly, and of course, flooding and erosion. Okay, very good. So I think this particular part lets me know that you actually are able to identify some of the key things, right, that is relevant for your own country. And I think this is an important part of today's process, okay? That we understand that sea level rise is not something that affects other countries, but as Southeast Asia, right, we are also very prone to some of these impacts too, okay? Right, the next question is a poll question, okay? So your city, where you are, right? Do you think that your city is prepared for a future with higher sea level? Okay, so what do you think? Do you think that your city is prepared for a future with higher sea level? Very good. Answers are coming up really fast. So what I see here is about 50% says no, right? About 30% says maybe, right? And then of course, yes, we have about 16%, and I don't know, not very sure, at about 2%. Okay. And this is something that you need to ask yourself. This is something that you need to think about, because when it comes to innovation, when it comes to solving issues, if you have indicated no, right, then this says a lot about what is needed to be done in your city. So I think all of us, right, are able to shape the future of some sorts, right? So this is important, okay, because we now know that sea level rise has a huge impact on us, right? And then we have 50% of us who think that our city is not ready yet. Okay. In the last segment, I just want to share with you some of the things that Singapore is doing. And I think this is important because Singapore is working very closely with different cities and countries around us, right, to come up with solutions. So some of these areas. So the first thing that is important here is to know what are some of the areas that we are prone. So in Singapore, we did very quite extensive prediction and management, and we highlighted there are several areas that are very prone, right? So this is something that is important because it helps us understand where our problem areas are and what needs to be done. Another part that is important here is that in Singapore, we do have quite a number of developmental projects. So for us, what we've been trying to do is to raise our land reclamation height by 1 meter so that the distance, right, that the water will cover will be greatly reduced. We also have various other things that has to do with coastal defense. So sea walls and sea level and coastal defense structures such as sea walls and breakwaters are very common around Singapore now. So you come visit, right, you will see that most of our coastlines are lined with concrete structures like this. And we are getting our people to start mangrove planting, right? Because these are one of the first few protection that can be done for Singapore itself as an island nation. In the years to come, we also come up with this structure called a polder. So it's a very unique structure. It's basically an added protection, coastal protection device. Okay, so that basically when high tide comes, this area will be flooded, but still it remains functional, right? So meaning that you still can have activities there. Is an additional area that will protect our coast. In the researchers in the universities are thinking out of the box, right? At this point of time, we are asking ourselves, what else can we do? So we are drawing inspirations from around the globe. In the US, there's this project called Living Breakwaters Project. So basically, it serves as a space where people can live, have fun, right? But at the same time, there are structures that continue to protect the coast as well as habitats for marine animals such as turtles, fishes, corals, and many more. Okay. The next innovation that is up and coming is this concept called nature-based solution. And in many parts of the world, this has already been in full force, right? So this particular short clip will give you a look, give you a glimpse of how nature-based solution, right, will help to reduce erosion along coastline. So what you see here is that you do see that when the waves comes in, the mangroves and the trees are very important protective functions, right? So then they're closer to the beaches itself, you see that the water is very still, right? It reduces the amount of erosion that happens in that particular space, right? So that is nature-based solutions. But of course, all these things need financial funding, right? So one thing that is very important around the globe, right, is this coming out with this thing called green financing. Basically getting companies, getting governments to invest responsibly and to channel some of this money to support the protection of coastal communities, right? That is prevalent in many of our countries that we live in. And the last few things would be something that is to come for Singapore, right? So taxing. So basically this introduction of carbon taxing. So basically for companies that emit certain pollutants, right, to basically pay for some of these emissions, especially when it comes to carbon dioxide emissions. And in Singapore, we have had quite a number of years of trying to limit the amount of vehicles that's present within the city, but at the same time, ramping out our public transport system so that we will reach a day where we can actually have as few cars on the road as possible. So in the concluding slide, I just want to highlight to you that everybody here, you are capable of coming up with solutions. I think in the weeks to come, as you think about some of these solutions, sea level rise will be something that is very important because there are a lot of issues that has yet to be tackled. We don't know what the true extent of the impact will be, but at the same time, we are able to come up with solutions. Solutions that can come at various levels. It could be a household level, it could be at a city level, or it could be at a countrywide level to basically come up with financial models, or even coming up with predictions, right, to how the impacts of climate change and sea level rise will have on our own cities. So with that, that's the end of my sharing today. Right, back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Do, for the lecture and also the activities. Okay, wow, I see a lot of interaction right now. Okay, so thank you so much. And that is just reminding us how important our planet is to us. Although we are living in the same country, but still we are living on the same earth using the same natural resources. So that is why we need to think globally, not just for your country, but it also affects other people. Okay, so that is the end of day 3. So give yourselves a hand. You can use the clapping emoji. Yay! And okay, for the announcement tomorrow, not tomorrow, I forgot. No, it's gonna be next week. Okay, so tomorrow you have your day off, so relax, get some rest, and then be ready for tomorrow for next week. Okay, so we're gonna have a session on Tuesday, May 2nd. We're going to be the same time. Then we're going to learn how to think globally. So we'll learn about global citizenship. Okay, we have a speaker from Korea, okay, to give us a lecture and also some activities. Okay, next. And again, log in 15 minutes before and be mindful of the time zone differences. Next. Again, the same link for all the 5 days workshop, okay? So we're not going to be using other link, just this one, okay? Okay, next. And before we go, I know that we end a little late today, but it's totally fine. So please don't forget to take your attendance before going home. So scan the code, fill in, and then you'll be done with the day. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone, for joining in today, and sorry for ending a little late as before. Thank you so much for Dr. Do for giving time for us today. It's a really, really insightful session. I myself actually learned a lot from that. Thank you so much for your time and effort. Okay, so see you next week, everyone. Okay, don't forget, Tuesday, May 2nd, we'll see each other here again. So stay tuned for that. Bye. Enjoy your evening.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you so
Em
much.
đã lời anh dành
Bye bye.
Bye bye chị Sa.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye 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 bye.
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 Bye bye.
Bye. Bye bye. Love you, Miss Alex.
Bye. Bye bye.
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 Bye bye.
Person.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Mình vẽ nó như là quỷ ảo thôi.